Hi, thank you guys for coming. Hi, Flora. um, well, I thought we should hear a little bit of Robert Penn Warren since it's his birthday, and we always celebrate it, but we never get to hear his poems. He did win the Pulitzer for poetry as well as fiction, and this is an intriguing book. Some of you, if you've been around for a long time, and it doesn't look like many of you have, might have had Leon Driscoll. And I had a modern poetry class with him, and I believe at the time this book had just come out, which is like in the 70s. So it's one of his later books, and I just read through it again a couple of times looking for a poem to read today. And what's really interesting is that even though he wrote the poems about in 1976 and to 78, that the poems are all different styles. And so I did some research on this book in particular, and some scholars said that it reads like an autobiography of his work, and also it tends to be a spiritual and emotional autobiography. So I would recommend this book if you want to get a taste of Penn Warren writing consciously about his styles, and you also see his thinking evolve until the end. So anyway, I found this one, and I chose it because of the end. It's called Waiting. You will have to wait until the last owl hoot has quivered to a vibrant silence, and you realize that there is no breathing beside you, and dark curdles toward dawn of no dawn, until drought breaks, too late to save the corn, but not too late for flood, and the hobbled cow, stranded on a sudden islet, gargles in grief in the alder brake, until the doctor enters the waiting room, and his expression betrays all, and you wish he'd take his goddamn hand off your shoulder, until the woman you have lived with all the years says without rancor that life is the way life is, and she cannot remember when last she loved you and had lived the lie only for the children's sake, until you become uncertain of French irregular verbs, and by a strange coincidence begin to take Catholic instruction from Monsignor O'Malley, who chews a hangnail, until you realize to your surprise that our Savior died for us all, and as tears gather in your eyes, you burst out laughing, for the joke is certainly on him, considering what we are, until you pick the last alibi off, like a scab, and admire the inwardness, as beautiful as inflamed flesh or summer sunrise, until you remember that, remarkably, common men have done noble deeds, until it grows on you that, at least, God has allowed man the grandeur of certain utterances, true or not, but sometimes true. I love that because it just goes through all different kinds of tones, and it surprises you all the way through. I chose this poem that I wrote because I feel the end of that poem was sort of like an epiphany, sort of like the one Merton had on was it 4th and Oak or 3rd and Oak or something like that around here. There's a plaque. Where?
4th and Walnut.
4th and Walnut. Okay. And Linnell knows all about this. She organized all this too. I was asked to do a poem for a project on Thomas Merton. You probably were too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. But you probably had 1 million already. I didn't. And when I started thinking about it, it took 2 years the whole time. Okay, so each month I would take notes and write a poem. Well, sometimes it took me 2 or 3 years writing notes for a month to actually write the poem. And I would only write the poems in the month. All right. So a lot of stuff happened in that period of time. So it wasn't easy making these poems all hang together. But anyway, there is sort of a narrative that runs through them. This one is called April. And all I'm going to tell you is that about the time I was writing this poem, or in the process of it, my sister died of Huntington's disease, and she was very young, and she was an incredible artist. It's a terrible loss. But what I was doing is examining my relationship with her, and I did it through poetry, and this is just one of the poems that I talk about her. So, April. 1. Halfway through April, I saw an infant's pink topsider glittering on the trail where it forks. One path takes you past the orphanage, the other the lake and pumpkin patch. I hoped a mother would retrace her steps and spot the pink shoe, catching light on the pathway, so I left it there. If my sister had her wits about her, would she spell out help from old leaves or sticks of forsythia in the garden of the nursing home? 2 or 3 in memory care could, if they were so inclined. 2. At the top of a hill, I noticed a vertical bird's nest in a small tree and wondered, what kind of bird builds nests that way? I saw a young ginkgo I'd never noticed before, also a fat tuft of snowdrops at creek's edge. I've walked often at 8 a.m., an hour or 2 after sunrise, alone and with somebody. I've heard children's laughter from school bus stops on Evergreen, delighted about something. Is anyone keeping an eye on the dozens of rowdy geese in the backyards of the big solitary summer houses across the railroad track? 3. Pink trumpets of marshmallow hide in the memories of their bushes and in the hopeful bodies of the turtles sunning near them. Oh, a bride on the stone bridge, fidgeting with her hands while the photographer is busy with her camera. Take note, silver shoes, small feet, blue toenails. Soon, there will be white lilies in the marsh in abundance. Later, swamp mallow. If we gather the flowers, we can make a medicine to soothe sore throats. Broken hearts. 4. None of the months is cruel. This morning, I found a running sock, just one, then lost a contrail in a cloudless sky. A gaggle of silver whirligigs on the big house's big lawns caught the daylight, and I am still thinking about the bride in a strapless dress who is, alas, at least 40 pounds overweight, when a boy on a blue bicycle, on your right, misses me by a hair. 5. People can be cruel, because even in her dementia, she is not like the rest of them. Can she feel how the old women shun her? Before her illness, with her artist eye, my sister recognized beauty everywhere. In the photograph, you'll see a bride's white shoulders, a blue vein meandering from my right clavicle to left breast. Your skin is white as milk glass, Mother said. In the photograph, my veil is pretty as Queen Anne's lace. My sister's dress is violet. 6. The groom in the parking lot does not see me. Oops, I numbered these. It's 6, but 1. The groom in the parking lot does not see me. 2. I doubt he knows the red gate is open. 3. He leans against a black car, lights a cigarette. 4. A tattoo peeks out of his stiff marriage collar. 5. The photographer adjusts her wide-angled lens. 6. The priest practices his lines. 7. The groom thinks, then doesn't think. 8. Until a red-winged blackbird fighting a jay interrupts the party, as do 2 little girls, my sister and I, riding into the 21st century from the vacant lot 2 streets over, full of wild violets a long time ago. 9. A fistful of flowers is pressed between the handlebars of her Schwinn and my sister's hand. 7. 10. A couple of surprises as I make the turn. 11. A baby's green, sparkly Mary Janes, the baby sleeping in her mother's arms, little legs dangling. 12. The invisible, inevitable red gate. 13. A tree branch, a swing, a little girl pushing another little girl. 14. The bluebird of happiness. 15. Laughing. Okay, thanks.